Good evening. This is the Common Sense Party Podcast. I'm your host, DOTTLEY. The Common Sense Party Podcast mission is to inform our listeners on topics that affect the everyday person. Rate, review, follow, subscribe. Give us 5 stars, give us 4 stars, give us 3 stars, give us 2 stars. You can even just give us 1 star if you don't give us any stars. I'll just assume we're doing it properly. We are available wherever you get your podcast. We're available at Spotify, Amazon Music, Samsung Podcasts, Pandora, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeart. And in the month of April, we will be on Apple Podcasts. Yes, we will be on Apple Podcasts. Finally, you can contact us at the commonsensepartypod@gmail.com. We're available on Instagram, TikTok, and other social media platforms. You can support the podcast at the Cash App or Zelle. The information is on the About page of this podcast. Today, which is Sunday, March 31st, which is the end of the month, we're going to talk about DeSantis going after actually doing something good, implementing a law that will take on squatters, for those people who live in Florida and that's their second home. Also, the conspiracy theories left bill with the Arizona government, the bridge collapse in Baltimore, two-tier justice system. Christy Mason got acquitted, but the funny thing is, she got acquitted, but some guy in Georgia who voted 9 times just had a misdemeanor. Talk about two-tier justice system, and we'll talk about the election. But first, let's go to DeSantis. What did DeSantis do? What did he do? I don't know. What did he do? I had to apologize. It is allergy season. Yes, it's allergy season. And we are, I'm getting the brunt of it. So let's see what this dude actually did.
There is a growing homeless camp along I-95 in the rail station. You have homeless living in tents, cars, RVs, and even a sailboat. And it's right next to a very modest working class neighborhood. I mean, literally 2 lanes across from the backyards of these homes. Well, how can we protect our own neighborhoods while we wait for the enforcement and all the legal wrangling over the recent legislation?
Well, help is on the way. Our legislation is speaking to exactly the concern that I think your question evinces, is that this has an impact on our communities. What they have done in San Francisco and Los Angeles, first of all, that's not even good for the homeless. That is indulging in the behavior that's causing the epidemic. So it's not even good for them. But it's really bad if you can't walk your dog down the street, you can't have kids going out and playing in a neighborhood because of drug use and homeless that are there. So the legislation that we signed, it says very simply, no public sleeping, no camps on sidewalks, parks, any of these streets. You have a right as a Floridian to live your life without having that impinge on you. And it's the local government's responsibility to ensure that those homeless can be removed to a shelter, and if they run out of shelter space, in an area that is not going to impact the general public, because it hurts property values when this stuff happens. It obviously increases crime and criminal activity. So we are trying to structure this in a way that is going to compel local governments to put their citizens first.
I apologize. That is the wrong one. Hold on, hold on. We
signed the bill this afternoon in Orlando. And our Capitol reporter Forrest Saunders joins us now live from Tallahassee to tell us how all this will work. Forrest.
Well, guys, I can tell you this was not a very controversial policy. In fact, it was unanimously approved by the legislature earlier this year during the legislative session. And now, with Governor Ron DeSantis' signature, Florida becomes one of the first states in the nation to lean in on this issue.
With rental homes, second homes, and so many others, Florida is no stranger to squatters. In fact, just this week, Martin County Sheriff made national headlines warning of a viral video teaching squatters how to squat and circumvent the laws.
Crime is a lot like cancer. It spreads, and if you see it somewhere else, let's be on guard. Let's get ahead of it.
When someone is illegally occupying a vacant property, current rules require what can be a lengthy civil court battle to remove them.
All right, so here we go.
Wednesday, Florida's governor signed a new law to streamline that removal process,
Providing very swift remedies, because what the squatters know is even when they're in the wrong, it's a massive process many times before they can be evicted, and a lot of times the process is very expensive.
Property owners will now be able to request law enforcement immediately remove a squatter if they entered illegally. They've been told to leave and haven't, and as long as they're not involved in a tenant-landlord legal dispute. The new law also increases penalties: a second-degree felony if squatters cause more than $1,000 in damage, and a first-degree felony for knowingly advertising a fake home sale or rental.
My name is Justin Melcarrick, and I'm just one of the neighbors that had to deal with squatters invading our street.
The change is a big win for Floridians like Justin, who warned Wednesday just how bad things can get.
The squatters brought reckless driving, drugs, weapons, and verbal threats to the lives of my neighbors.
The new law also getting rave reviews from Florida's largest professional trade association, Florida Realtors. Vice President Andy Gonzalez said the Sunshine State now has a deterrent to halt the horror stories.
If you own a property, even if you're away for a period of time, you shouldn't have to go through legal loopholes if there's someone squatting in your house.
The next step is for the changes to take effect. Florida's anti-squatting law now coming online in July of this year.
Okay, so let's talk about something more controversial, which is the vacation rentals bill, which got through the legislature earlier this session. That is a policy that would basically give the state more control over how to regulate vacation properties over cities and counties. And it's getting some blowback from the Florida Realtors Association in particular, who are urging Governor Ron DeSantis to veto that policy, saying that it actually diminishes property owner rights. We'll have to see what he does there, Paul.
All right, Forrest. Also today, Disney and DeSantis settling a years-long fight over Disney's opposition to the parental rights bill, critics labeling the Don't Say Gay law. What was behind the timing of this settlement today?
Well, we know that the company as well as the new oversight board have kind of been working together to try and find a amicable way to settle their dispute, at least in the state court battle. And it sounds like they have. I mean, you have the governor out there today saying that, this is a big victory for him, his comms team really touting that message. But there are some provisions in there for the company as well, including negotiating with the new board that's overseeing the special district for their future plans, how they would cooperate and work together. And if they come to a good agreement with that new deal, it essentially would also nullify the federal court case, which is still sort of in limbo. You might remember Disney is alleging that their First Amendment rights were violated by Governor DeSantis as well as the legislature. That lawsuit is on hold right now. There was a dismissal on the lowest level of the federal courts, and now Disney is appealing that decision. But they say they will dismiss that case. They will drop that appeal if they're able to get a good negotiation out of the company with the new board going forward. So we're going to have to wait and see on that as well. But obviously, this is a step in the right direction, at least for both parties, as far as they're concerned.
Yeah.
That was Ron DeSantis up to his old ways of doing stuff. But yeah, this new squatters bill that he introduced, I guess it's kind of good, because guess what? You don't want anybody squatting in your house if you leave. The crazy thing about it is it went through like a breeze. Just went straight through. Breeze straight through. So we know that squatters were the problem. But how do you squat? If anyone squatted before and don't want to leave any names, just send us an email at the Common Sense Party Pod. The Common Sense Party Pod at gmail.com. Tell us your story. How did you get it done? Did you look for the property? I don't want to create a to-do list of how to do it, but I just want to see what goes into the process of going for it. All right, we're going to move on to our next story. It has to do with the election. Remember when they said Arizona's there was a fraud in Arizona? Guess what happened? This conspiracy theory cost the taxpayers $200,000 to go ahead and run a background or whatever, wasting taxpayers' money. Check it out.
This is a story about paper. Lots and lots of paper. Americans have been voting on paper for most of the country's history. But back in 2020, bizarre conspiracy theories about paper started to spread.
Is looking for bamboo-laced ballots.
Fraudulent ballots were unloaded from a South Korean plane
into Arizona, and it was stuffed into the box.
All of that led to this. 5 tons worth nearly $200,000 of supposedly fraud-proof ballot paper.
This is taxpayer dollars down the drain based on lies.
It's currently lying on the floor of this warehouse in Phoenix, and no one is quite sure what to do with it.
Had there ever been a problem with the paper before?
No one's ever questioned the paper.
And then what happened?
We get into 2020, there's rumors of bamboo in the paper and paper from China and a lot of different just stories that circulated. And so it just kind of went from there. And people started questioning it.
As you were seeing that play out, what were you thinking?
That it was nuts.
Enter David Stevens. He ordered the paper.
Paper itself, ballot paper. People have concerns about that.
There were concerns, yes.
And what were those concerns?
That people were making their own ballots and then interjecting them into the system. They were coming from foreign countries. Maybe we can make our paper more secure so we would know quicker or easier if it really is a valid Arizona ballot or if it is not.
Do you personally believe the bamboo paper thing?
I don't know much about it, other than they think it came from wherever.
Stevens is a top election official in Arizona's Cochise County. Cochise is home to Tombstone, but it's a place where election conspiracy theories won't seem to die. In 2022, election skeptics delayed certification of the midterm elections here. Stevens' opponent in an upcoming election says he is part of the problem in Cochise.
Cochise has been in the headlines a lot the last few years because of elections, and mostly for bad reasons.
It's an uphill battle because there are people who spread disinformation about our elections. This theory that there's a problem with our paper, so it was a solution in search of a problem because we've never had a problem with our ballot paper. There are all kinds of safeguards and on top of other safeguards to make sure that the wrong ballot paper doesn't cause any problems.
Yeah. Runbeck Election Services takes these huge rolls of paper and turn them into millions of ballots that are used across the country. But not these 2 rolls of special ballot guard paper ordered by David Stevens using a state grant.
So this is a sample of the ballot guard paper. So when you shine on a black light, you get these UV fibers that now become apparent. Additionally, there's what's called an IR taggant. And it's a chemical in there that when you hold a scanner over it, it'll vibrate.
Oh, wow.
And so
a missed deadline and other bureaucratic snafus has put a halt to the so-called secure paper experiment.
So, I mean, it's essentially $200,000 gone to waste.
A little less than that, but yeah.
So this sounds like a bit of a nightmare.
Pretty much, yeah. I want it to be over.
But Adrian Fontes, Arizona's top election official, says Stevens' experiment shouldn't have started in the first place.
Well, the economic costs of the conspiracy theories in Arizona are real dollars. Now, the paper that was purchased by this one county based on these conspiracy theories that is absolutely useless, and we can't even use it. They can't use it. This is taxpayer dollars down the drain based on lies.
Stevens said he is not a conspiracy theorist, but in our conversation, he didn't refute any.
Do you accept Biden won the last election?
The election in Cochise County was fair and balanced, and Trump won Cochise County. So
But nationally?
That's the way the numbers came out. So there were a lot of issues, but maybe there was an explanation for them. I don't know. To be fair, there's a lot of people who think 2016 was rigged. Hillary Clinton still thinks she won the election. Are they election deniers?
Democrats would say, well, look, our side didn't go attack the U.S. Capitol.
I wasn't there. I didn't go. We actually had some people here that went. I think they claim it was peaceful.
But the facts are clear. January 6th was not peaceful. Hillary Clinton formally conceded to Donald Trump the morning after the election, and Arizona is stuck with tons of...
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, due to elections conspiracy, they have wasted taxpayers' dollars to they wasted taxpayer dollars because of having a brain fart. Yeah, they wasted taxpayer dollars because of a lie. 200 grand could have been doing something else. But the one thing I still don't understand is that we are moving forward towards a paperless society. Why are we still using paper in elections? I seriously don't understand why we are still doing that. All right. Moving on to two-tier justice system. You want to know why I say it's a two-tier justice system? Because this young lady filled out a provisional ballot, Crystal Mason, and she got arrested. Because if you fill out a provisional ballot, it says it's to find out if you're eligible for an election. She got arrested and put in jail for 5 years. 5 years. There is a official in Georgia who voted 9 times and got a fine. Guess what color he is? Yes. White. And this young lady is black. Check it out.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. It's been a long journey. Started in 2016 for filling out a provisional ballot that never counted. 2017, I was convicted I was charged with illegally voting. And in 2018, I was convicted to 5 years. I've been out now for 6 years, over 6 years on the appeal bond, fighting to stay free. And yesterday, I finally got that news that I was acquitted from all charges. I was overwhelmed with joy. I'm so grateful that God carried me through this journey. I thank you all for all the people that supported me during this journey. I want to give thanks to my pastor, Freddie Haynes, my church, Friendship West, all my attorneys, Attorney Kim T. Cole, Attorney Allison Grinter, Allen, Attorney Justin Moore, ACLU, Texas Civil Rights, everybody that supported me on this journey. It's been a long time coming. I'm so grateful. I'm so humbly grateful. And I knew victory would be the outcome. And I'm just so glad that the judges did the right thing. And again, I just ask you to keep me in your prayers and keep my family uplifted, because again, I'm just overwhelmed, trying not to cry. And thank you.
So much damage. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to tell you my name is Allison Grinter Allen. I'm a criminal defense attorney for Crystal. So much damage has been done by this prosecution. So many people have heard this story and chosen to do what it was intended to do, which is keep people from voting. So many people have gotten the message that was sent here that the damage is absolutely incalculable. This prosecution was never intended to punish or deter Crystal Mason from doing anything. It was intended to punish and deter Texans from voting. And though the legal result is correct, and this acquittal is an excellent decision, the prosecution itself is the tragedy. And that's what we have to work to undo now. Crystal has been an absolute inspiration to so many people. She never asked to be involved in voter suppression or any kind of voter rights fight. But she rose to the challenge in such an inspiring way. And her story tells us that when the government tries to make an example of you, be an example. And everyone who knows Crystal has been absolutely
at Friendship West in Dallas, Texas, where Reverend Dr. Frederick Douglass Haynes III is senior pastor, and where Crystal Mason is our member.
Okay. All right. Yes, that young lady was detained for 5 years because people in Texas wanted to suppress the vote. The crazy thing about it is they what about it that way, and because he was white, I'm sorry, because he was black, and they want to scare people into not voting. But
allegations are confessions in Republican world. Look at this. Judge rules Georgia Republican Party vice chairman voted illegally, voting 9 times while serving probation for felony forgery charges. We're talking about Brian K. Pritchard. And a judge did indeed rule a couple of days ago that the first ever vice chairman of the Georgia Republican Party, how esteemed, violated state election laws when he voted 9 times while serving probation for a felony check forgery sentence. Now, not only is he the vice chairman of the Georgia Republican Party, but he's also a conservative talk show host. I know. His punishment, oh, look at this. It will be a $5,000 fine and a public reprimand from the state election board, according to the decision by administrative law judge Lisa Boggs. Pritchard previously alleged that the 2020 election was fraudulent, but he has been found to have voted illegally. So, a few different things. First of all, $5,000 fine and a reprimand. They've locked people up for accidentally voting as felons. and he is going to get a $5,000 fine. Right. What about losing the right to vote in future elections because we have criminals voting in this country who aren't supposed to vote? Oh, this is different. This is different. This is the vice chairman of the esteemed Georgia Republican Party. This guy knew what he was doing, and it's a slap on the wrist. And there are essentially, how many stories are there here? I guess there's in a sense 3 stories. Story number 1. It continues to be that while Republicans are the loudest ones yelling about Democratic voter fraud, it continues to be Republicans that get caught voting illegally. Anecdotally, in no cases, left, right, is this significant enough to change election outcomes, other than that one case that Ken Block told us about, a local race. So story number 1 is they are accusing and they are the ones doing. Number 2, we see drastically different punishments for those who do this, sometimes on purpose, sometimes accidentally. Part of that has to do with which state did it happen and what other information is there, aggravating factors, mitigating factors, so on and so forth. And then, of course, number 3, big picture, our elections continue to be secure and trustworthy, whether you're voting in person or by mail or whatever. And to the extent that they aren't, it's because of wild ideas that right-wingers get. Ballot harvesting, intimidation at polling places. We've seen it all. So Brian K. Pritchard, 9 times voting illegally while claiming the 2020 election was fraudulently stolen by Joe Biden. Will these people ever stop? I don't know. Probably not. Today's sponsor, Ground News, is
yes. Will they ever stop? No. Again, he got caught 9 times. 9 times serving a fine and a public reprimand. That's it. Nothing else. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else at all. Yes, he is white and he's in Georgia. And that shit is crazy that he voted 9 times since 2020. She did a provisional ballot and got locked up in 2018. Talk about your two-tier justice. All right. Like I said, I do it part-time, but I work for the voting, and I hope we can get to a point where these people could open their eyes and make it as safe as possible. All right. Remember the bridge crash? Moving on. Remember the bridge crash in Baltimore? Check this out.
With the stunning new images just coming in from on board the cargo ship that brought down Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge. New images just coming in from the NTSB show inspectors probing the damage, the twisted metal of the bridge draped across the front of the ship. On board, they found 56 containers of hazardous materials, some broken open, spilling into the water. Officials say there is no immediate threat. Our team out on the water today with the Army Corps of Engineers who are leading the recovery operation. Cranes are on the way to clear the debris and tow the ship away, and then to recover the bodies of the 4 missing construction workers trapped underneath. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze on the scene tonight.
Tonight, a first look inside the cargo ship that crashed into Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge. NTSB investigators combing through the catastrophic damage, collecting evidence, surveying the mangled wreckage and twisted steel encasing the bow of the ship, and examining the hazardous materials on board. A massive operation is now underway to clear the wreckage. The U.S. Navy sending 3 giant cranes to the scene. Officials hoping to refloat the cargo ship Dolly to begin clearing this vital East Coast port.
We're only able to get this close right now because we're with the Army Corps of Engineers. The rest of this water is completely blocked to any other commercial vessels.
We traveled by boat, getting our first up-close look at the mangled metal and debris.
This goes 50 feet down into the water. That needs to get cleared before anything can pass in and out.
1,000 Army Corps of Engineer personnel now supporting the recovery effort.
We have to get that section of bridge that is resting on the front of that vessel
off of the vessel.
General Scott Spellman telling me that piece of steel alone weighs nearly 9 million pounds and will need to be cut into sections before it's lifted off, piece by piece, with a crane.
This is one of the largest ports in the United States of America, and it has to get reopened quickly.
Investigators poring over the ship's voyage data recorder, obtaining preliminary information consistent with the power outage and outlining a timeline of the 5 minutes before the disaster. The ship's lights going dark at 1:24 a.m. Tuesday, alarms ringing out. Within minutes, the pilots calling for tugboats, issuing a mayday, notifying authorities the ship lost power and was heading toward the bridge. First responders stopping traffic on the bridge. Shortly after 1:29 a.m., that collision and collapse heard on the data recorder. Only 2 of the 8 construction workers who were on the bridge survived. Authorities on Wednesday recovered the bodies of 2 of them, 26-year-old Dorleon Castillo and 35-year-old Alejandro Hernandez Fuentes, both found inside a submerged pickup truck. 4 more workers presumed dead, believed to be trapped in the underwater wreckage, including Miguel Luna and Maynor Suazo Sandoval. Sandoval's brother Carlos telling ABC News Maynor had an unbeatable spirit filled with happiness. The Baltimore Orioles today taking time to recognize the victims before their home opener.
Let us join together in a moment of silence for those who lost their lives.
And later in the game, honoring 3 first responders who stopped traffic on the bridge, saving lives.
No doubt saving countless lives. And let's get right to Elizabeth Schulze on the scene there in Baltimore. Elizabeth, what are officials saying about a possible timeline to start clearing out all that wreckage?
Lindsay, recovery crews are working 24/7, and you can see by that new NTSB video just how colossal of a task this is going to be. That's just the damage on the surface of the ship. There are thousands of tons of steel underwater that they're going to have to clear too. Lindsay.
Right, Elizabeth, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Steff.
All right, kids, yeah. And Republicans are starting to say that DEI caused the crash. Kind of dumb fuck is that? They some dumbass motherfuckers for taking it, but that goes kind of crazy. You saw the boat just lose power twice, and it's just insane of how it happened. All right, moving on. All right, remember when Joe Biden won in 2020? Do you remember that? Okay. Check this out. I just want you to remember this and remember who's leading in the polls that they say.
Americans have made their choice. Joe Biden will be the next president of the United States.
It's one of the great days in American history.
These fellas stink.
I am happy because Biden-Harris won, and enough of the division under Trump.
This is the White House. This is the prize. And Joe Biden getting into that House has ended up being one of the biggest electoral turnouts in over a century.
This is what we needed. This is what we've been waiting for. It's a day of celebration. The sun is shining for us.
What is your message to the guy in the White House over there?
Your time's up. Time to go.
It is an unreal scene, Adrian. I've been in crowds like this before, but never anything like this. What do you think about this crowd?
It's awesome. It's amazing. I've never seen nothing like it.
We did it. We did it, Joe. You're going to be the next president of the United States.
She called Joe Biden to celebrate the moment that he was declared the president-elect of the United States.
Well, Joe Biden is the president, but Kamala Harris is the vice president. How do you feel about that?
It's a big step for women, especially minority women, because she's the first minority to ever hold the vice president seat. So I may not
first woman, right?
First woman. I may not agree with everything that she's done, but this is a big step for women in general. pretty emotional. You know, I've been tired and dealing with what we've been dealing with in the country. I felt all alone, and to see all these people come out and really be excited that we're moving past that and we're moving to an era where we care about each other.
I am so happy. I feel like we've got rid of the trash.
There are 74 million Americans that voted for Biden. 70 million voted for Trump. So there's 4 more million Americans that voted for this. It shouldn't be this close.
So this appears to be video of Donald Trump on the golf course today, right around the time, we believe, that the news was being delivered.
If you're looking for a visual representation of just how divided the United States is, there's no better example of what's going on here in Atlanta. We're right now standing on the one side of the sidewalk where pro-Trump supporters are here. They are protesting against the calls that have been made by the U.S. networks.
We just want clarity. We just want to know, beyond the shadow of a doubt, who has won the presidential race.
Now, if Donald Trump accepts the results, will you accept the results?
Yeah, absolutely. If he sees that he's lost fair and square, I'm sure he will accept it.
We're going to show you across the street over here. We have a number of anti-Trump protesters, and some of them are armed. They have been here for about an hour now.
Many people, yes, indeed, have heard the news, the projection of Joe Biden as the next president, and they frankly just don't believe it. They believe that there has been widespread fraud. They pair it with the president and the campaign. Someone saying, stop the seal. Why do you say that? Why do you say stop the seal?
Telling me that in the middle of the night, a guy that stays in his basement, that has nobody show up, has absolutely no energy, when you have 60,000 people, you have 90-some miles of Trump train, that this guy won?
What President-elect Biden is going to have to do is to establish a tone where people feel like they're heard, and even if they don't get everything that they want, they at least feel that they can be comfortable with the steps that are being taken that may perhaps move them in the direction of the policy goals that they want. It's a hard task, and it's going to require not just him and Vice President-elect Harris, but it's going to require other people to be willing to engage in that conversation.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was 2020. And how quickly we forget how fast that shit is. Oh. The one thing I don't understand is how he, by doing the right thing, everybody's mad. How is that possible? Somebody let me know. How is that possible? All right. Let's go to the upcoming election, but let's check this out. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm speaking through my note.
4 years they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it. And I'm proud to have done it.
On the issue, and he supports that. It was his Supreme Court justices, after all, that overturned Roe v. Wade, which was the biggest win for the pro-life movement.
I think this is a giant step forward for Alabama. I think it's a victory tonight for women, for families, for Alabama in general.
So that was Marilyn Land's last night after her victory in a special election to fill a vacant House seat in Alabama.
Abortion, IVF, playing a role. Democrat running on abortion and IVF access wins the special election in Alabama. Marilyn Lands flipped a state house seat in the deep red state by 25 percentage points. Best describes the issue's view on abortion, always legal, 35%, mostly legal, 24%. There you see the breakdown.
Oh, that's gotta hurt!
Interesting. Well, let's hear from the current Republican frontrunner on where he stands on this matter.
President Trump is going to make a determination what he thinks is great for the country and what's fair for the country. But the fact that I was able to terminate Roe v. Wade after 50 years of trying, they worked for 50 years. I've never seen anything like it. They worked, and I was so honored to have done it. Well, I did something that nobody thought was possible. I got rid of Roe v. Wade. And by doing that, it put pro-lifers in a very strong negotiating position. Nobody did a job like I did, including Roe v. Wade bringing it back to the states. What I did by killing Roe v. Wade, which everyone said was impossible.
Oh, so you're saying that he's on the opposing side of what the majority of Americans believe, yet Fox still runs segments like this.
Yeah, it's awful, and yet it perhaps was one of the most honest evenings we've seen in a very long time. We've always seen honesty with President Trump.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Emily, what he said was, take me on yourself. Don't use those upper echelons of justices, the DOJ and all that.
Permit me to say this, is that joke between the scientist and God.
In connection with promoting the God Bless the USA Bible.
Because nothing is more Christ-like than the man.
I don't understand. How can you have a president who is not smarter than you? I have a problem with that.
Oh my God. I mean, it is not only culty, it is grifty. It is so much on brand for Donald Trump.
As Trump continues to boast that he's responsible for one of the least popular decisions in America, the overturning of Roe, in yet another election, it was proven to be a losing strategy for Republicans. Democrat Marilyn Lands campaigned on abortion rights in deeply conservative Alabama. She won a special election.
I don't know about that, but the polls keep saying that Trump is popular, but he's backing a loser. So, we're in the South. Hold on.
People are underestimating how angry women are. People are underestimating how much women, particularly in a place like Michigan, mobilized and fought to codify Roe as a constitutional right in our state. And there's no way we're going backwards on that. So I think we always look for, who do you love as a candidate?
It says 48-43. But do people really want to go backwards in time?
Democrats continue to overperform in the Biden era. It's just, you can't dispute it. It is blowing the polling out of the water. Republicans haven't really had a good showing since Trump won in 2016. And they really, and I know that there are a lot of them, deeply conservative people that are coming around to the idea that Donald Trump loses himself elections and he loses the people that he endorses
elections.
Well,
they took the House in 2000, right?
2020.
Yeah.
By 3 seats. So remember it was 2022.
16.
That was your red wave. Remember when you said, I'm getting a 40-seat wave, and then you got 3 seats and a George Santos?
Oh, don't remind me.
Okay. Anyway.
And her victory comes several weeks.
So, again, the polls say that he's ahead, but do we trust his polls? Personally, people vote against their own interests all the time, so I won't be surprised if...
Election on Fox. Was forced to report on yet another Fox News poll that showcases just how out of touch MAGA Republicans are on the matter.
Abortion, IVF, playing a role. Democrat running on abortion and IVF access wins the special election in Alabama. Marilyn Lands flipped a state house seat in the deep red state by 25 percentage points, underscoring the continued political potency of reproductive rights. Don't know if that's a canary in the coal mine, but it is interesting in Alabama. If you look at our poll, Katie, best the issues view on abortion, always legal, 35%, mostly legal, 24%. There you see the breakdown.
I mean,
who is answering these polls? Are they doing them online? Are they doing them in person? Are they calling landline? Are they... The polls keep saying that people are rejecting abortion, all that stuff. So, are we able to...
of abortion, which drove Democratic voters dramatically to the polls. Big numbers. Virginia State House will be fully under Democrat control now. Remember, the governor there, Glenn Youngkin, was saying that he really wanted that not to happen. He wanted to flip one side. The whole House, by the way, was up for grabs. He wanted one side to flip.
the Democrats won state by state. So my question is this: is it possible for the Democrats to get the Senate, get the House, get governorships, but lose the White House? Is that possible? Because I don't understand where poll after poll after poll after poll says that people want to elect Trump, but how is that possible?
2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and last night. Wow.
Okay. But it's just fascinating that they know this, yet still counter the needs of the man who continues to take credit for such an unpopular stance.
I'm really going to be honest about this, and I consider myself pro-life, but I understand that's not where the country is. I would say first trimester or Dobbs 15 weeks seems to be where the country is, Kayleigh. I want to stay with you on this issue. And these issues will be decided by the states. You talked to the Speaker of the House. I talked to the Speaker of the House. It is not going to be an issue in the House of Representatives. This is not going to be decided any longer in Washington, D.C. The states will decide. So if states say that, OK, 15 weeks is the legal time period where women can have an abortion.
And according to reporting, is considering a nationwide abortion.
And another thing, the Republicans don't want to. Oh, hold on. Okay, you gotta listen to this. Okay, all right. Republicans don't want to. They want to ban abortion, but they don't want to expand the social services. They don't want to expand the government. So, how can you be pro-life and not want to expand social services? Someone please let me know. Can you be pro-life and not want to expand foster care, Medicaid, Medicare, pre-start, those kind of things? Please let me know. Check this out.
Talk about attaching yourself to a sinking ship.
But its consequences, its impact could be just as devastating. Consider this new reporting from Politico. So right now, the Heritage Foundation's 2025 Presidential Transition Project, a sprawling coalition made up of nearly 100 anti-abortion and conservative groups, is in the process of designing a far-reaching anti-abortion agenda for Trump's second term. They're drafting executive orders Trump could use to roll back abortion protections, orders that he could implement as early as day one. Under a second Trump term, federal agencies could be empowered to end telemedicine for abortion pills. They could penalize and prosecute virtual clinics that prescribe abortion pills to patients in states with a ban. Federal agencies could stop health clinics that receive federal family planning funds from advising patients of all other options, including abortion. And they could classify ingredients in abortion pills as so-called forever chemicals, which of course are subject to stricter regulations. They also want to require doctors who prescribe the pill, even for miscarriages, to collect and dispose of the aborted fetus. But there's more. Project 2025 is also pushing Trump to enforce a 19th century era law known as Comstock Act, which could not only cut access to the pills used in the majority of abortions, but access to the medical equipment used for the procedure. And of course, strict enforcement of the law could lead to criminal prosecutions of both providers and patients. And yes, they're also going after medically necessary abortions, calling on Trump to rescind Biden administration guidance that requires hospitals to offer abortions to patients experiencing medical emergencies regardless of state bans on the procedure. For many, that can be a matter of life and death. So do not let Donald Trump fool you with the so-called moderate talk on abortion.
I mean, you'd think the results in Alabama would have alarm bells ringing, right? But if it means they're speaking out against the cult leader, they'll just pull a MyPillow over their head and read their God Bless America Bible until it's time to vote again. Good luck with that strategy, folks.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the Midas Touch Network, the film Against All Enemies, which I...
All right, folks. Yep, that is the one thing I don't understand is polls say that he's popular with Americans, but his policies or not. So will that be the downfall of Trump? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. One. Okay, one last story. So I'm going to try to do this so we don't get copyrighted. So check it out.
Your favorite auntie is back to straighten out America. Because America needs me. Lord, have mercy. The election is now less than 8 months away, and guess what? America is on the path to doing something really, really stupid.
New Fox News polls finding former President Trump leading President Biden by 5 points nationally in a head-to-head matchup. This is his biggest lead yet against Joe Biden. Just over half of those voters said that they are worse off today than compared to 2020.
A new CBS News poll shows 46% of registered voters remember the Trump-era presidency as excellent or good, compared to President Biden's 33%.
If the election were held today, even Democrats, I know, think that Trump would win.
What the is wrong with us? Seriously!
Yeah, what is wrong with us?
This is like a movie where you see the disaster coming from a mile away and nobody is stopping it.
That's right. Nobody want to stop it. Every time.
I'm shouting at the screen like it's a horror movie. Don't go in there, America!
But America votes against its own interests all the time. Why? Why do Americans vote against their own interests? I don't understand.
It's like asking Jeffrey Epstein to watch your kids. Or a pedophile priest to watch your kids.
Ain't that stupid?
Used to work at Nickelodeon to watch your kids. Hey, how about we do this? Don't let anybody watch your kids.
I don't understand. Why is America that stupid?
But let me remind you about something real quick. He was also a terrible president.
Fuck yeah, he was awful. Put $8 trillion on the debt in 4 fucking years, and people happily forget about that shit because they got PVP.
Do you really not remember? I know we don't have the attention spans anymore, but how can you forget the man who wanted to nuke a hurricane? That actually happened. And the thing that gets me the most is there are people who are saying we're worse off than we were in 2020. In 2020, we didn't even have toilet paper.
That's the one shit I don't understand, man. They say we're not better off. I know I am. I'm fucking way better off. So why would I want to go back? Why would you want to go back? And the crazy thing about it is a lot of the people in 2020 weren't working and they were getting paid. They were getting paid to stay home. But life ain't like that. You gotta get up and start working.
We was wiping our ass with family photos. And listen, I know the pandemic wasn't Trump's fault, but Trump made it worse every chance he got. Don't you people remember the kind of advice he was giving us?
President Trump suggested, without facts, that bleach injections might fight COVID.
And then I see the disinfectant.
Motherfucking bleach, man. Bleach. This is what y'all want to go back to? This minority bullshit where a small sliver of Americans decided for the major ones? No, you can't go back here.
Where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning?
He told us to inject ourselves with disinfectant! We turned to him for advice, and dude was like, kill yourself. I could go on and on about why it would be a terrible idea to bring back Trump. But you know what? I guess I shouldn't be surprised that America is about to do something that we know is harmful to us, because that is what we always do. Look at how we treat our own bodies. We know we need to sleep 8 hours a night, but we stay up all night scrolling onto our phone until it falls on our damn face. We know we should take care of our mental health, but we entertain ourselves by watching documentaries of f***ing serial killers. We know we should go to the doctor, but instead we get medical advice from the internet. Listen, I'm guilty of it too. When I feel sick, I look up symptoms on WebMD. I know it's irresponsible, but I can't control myself, probably because I'm dying of scurvy. We...
Keep it together.
We are constantly making decisions that we know are bad for us. We know we should be eating healthy, but instead we eat like shit. We're out here eating double-stuffed Oreos and triple-decker sandwiches. We stack our food like a Jenga. You know what has only one layer? A goddamn carrot. Just look at the lengths we go. Just look at the lengths we go to for fast food. Look at it.
Well, this week we learned the answer to the age-old question, how long would you wait in line just for an In-N-Out burger?
At the store's first location in Idaho, some patrons
Talking in Idaho, In-N-Out burger.
Featured customers even braving cold temperatures to camp out overnight just to be the first in line.
You disgusting, gluttonous motherfucker. 8 hours? I'm not a mathematician, but if you're waiting 8 hours for fast food, it ain't fast food no more. Unbelievable! Some of the stuff we eat shouldn't even be legal. In fact, in some countries, it's not legal. There's shit that's been banned in Europe because it gives you cancer. And we're like, nah, we good. Because we don't care enough to make good decisions. It's even acceptable in America to binge drink as an adult. Listen, it's cute at 21. But baby, at 45, that's called alcoholism. And after eating like shit, we know we should be exercising, but instead, we're doing shit like this.
And next, you've always wanted six-pack abs, but can't seem to get to the gym. Now there's a shortcut for that. Researchers at the University of Miami have developed a new plastic surgery technique called abdominal etching. It can reshape belly fat to make you look like you spent a lot of time at the gym. Tools and some foam, this is surgery, are used to sculpt abdominal fat to accentuate muscle lines, typically 6 for men and 3 vertical lines for women.
Jesus wept. What is wrong with you people? You can't trick people into thinking that you got fake abs. That's why we got Spanx. I can't believe that this is what we got our scientists working on. Forget about curing diseases. We got to make Jordan look like he doing sit-ups.
Maybe we use a different name for that joke.
No, I think that's a good name. I think it makes the joke perfect.
Like a Paul or a Steve or a... No,
Jordan is just great.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of...
But it's not just Jordan. We all make wrong decisions, from food to exercise to mental health. Last but not least, most importantly, we know we shouldn't be dating DJs. But here I am, swiping right on every guy with DJ in his bio. Now I'm on the 3rd hour of listening to his new song, and the beat still hasn't dropped. Drop the beat, DJ Andre! I gotta go get some sleep! So here's an idea, America. How about for at least this election, for this one thing, let's not do the obviously stupid thing that we know we shouldn't do. And that means you're going to have to put in some effort. It means getting involved in the political process. It means not sitting on your ass just because you're not in love with the choices. I know you like fast food, but this time, let's eat a carrot instead of voting for a guy who looks like a carrot.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, she said it better than I can. How in God's name he is popular and could get back in the office? Please go out and vote. I am an independent, and I need y'all to go out and vote. Go out and vote. Please go out and vote, please. It might not be the person that I want you to vote for, but that dude cannot get back in the office. I mean, cannot.
Campaign's release. Take a look.
Bird brain. I call it bird brain. Nikki Haley has made an unholy alliance with rhinos, never-Trumpers, Americans for no prosperity. She was sitting there like... She's gone crazy. She's a very angry person. She is not presidential timber. I don't need votes. We have all the votes we need. She's gone haywire. There aren't that many never-Trumpers anymore.
How do you bring these Nikki Haley voters back into the tent?
I'm not sure we need too many.
Tim, how effective do you think this will be?
So hopefully that ad will get some of Nikki Haley's voters into the folds. All right, this has been the Common Sense Part of the Podcast. I'm your host, D-O-T-T-L-E-Y. Today, we talked about two-tier justice system, polls, the day Biden won the election, and Arizona wasted money on paper. This is the Common Sense Party Pod. I'm your host. The Common Sense Party Pod is to inform our listeners on topics that affect the everyday person. Please rate, review, subscribe, tell a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend. Please give us 5 stars, give us 4 stars, give us 3 stars, give us 2 stars, give us 1 star, even if you give us 1 star. If you don't give us any stars, I'll just assume that we're doing it properly. We're available wherever you get your podcast. We're available on Spotify, Amazon Music, Samsung Podcast, Pandora, Google Podcast, YouTube Music, TuneIn Radio, and iHeart Radio. Contact us at the Common Sense Party Pod at gmail.com. Available on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You can support via Cash App or Zelle. Information is on the forward page of our podcast. Again, I am your host, D-O-T-T-L-E-Y. This has been the Common Sense Party Pod. All right, check you out.